Stay tuned for my top 10 comic-based Marvel Legends of 2019. And spoiler alert, none of these actually made the top 10. Hello and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And we have come to the end of yet another year, which means I get to make another top 10 list looking back at the Marvel Legends of 2019. And this time it's all about the comic-based Marvel Legends. My personal favorite top 10 comic-based Marvel Legends of 2019. So that means no MCU figures, no Builder figures. They have to be comic based. And a quick disclaimer, I'm not including the new Spider-Man wave with the Demo Goblin Builder figure or the Super Skrull Fantastic Four wave, as they are officially via Hasbro 2020 releases, even though some people managed to get them early, including me. But I'm not going to include them in this list, as I wanted to highlight all of the great figures we have had in 2019, as it has been a great year. Starting with my honorable mentions here. So as I said, I love all of these figures on the table, and I could easily make a top 10 list out of these guys, but they didn't quite make the top 10, but I still wanted them to show them some love. Starting off with Union Jack, UK repping of course, but when we first seen the promo pictures of this guy, he was on the Sunfire body mold with the better articulation and the butterfly joints and whatnot, and then when we got him in packaging, he was actually on the old Bucky Cap mold, which is still a fine mold and it works for the figure, but let's be honest, the Sunfire body mold would have been better, which would have made this a much better figure, but still, his UK repping, had to show him some love. Behind him there, he's got Silver Stable and Blink, two female figures and characters that I really like these figures. On the back there, we've got Magneto, very nostalgic, especially when you get him on a flight stand. He come with his twins, of course, with Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Great free pack. And if you've got the unmasked Eric Lingshaw head from the previous Magneto release, whack it on this guy. Very nostalgic to the cartoons and whatnot. Great figure. These two at the back, Hercules and Beta Ray Bill, very controversial choices that they're not in my top 10, as I'm sure a lot of people will be putting them maybe in their top 5. However, this is my personal favourite list, and for whatever reason, I got these two, reviewed them, but then they went straight back in the box. I'm just not the biggest fan of these two characters, and didn't really find a place in my display for them. But still, I admit it, they're great figures without a doubt. But just didn't quite make my personal top 10. Deadpool here on his scooter. He's one of those type of figures where once it's on my shelf, a lot of people will always point this guy out to me as just a fun figure, and that's what toys are after all, they're fun. And he comes with Deadpool, Squirrel Pool, and just makes a nice display piece on the shelf. And then the Cajun Sensation Gambit, one of my favourite X-Men characters, easily could have been in my top 10, but for some reason he just didn't quite make it, but still really like this figure. And then behind him at the back we got Hydro Man. Again, if this guy had come with interchangeable arms, so he had normal hands, then he could have made the top 5. But just like Sandman of the past, we never got interchangeable hands for him, so he's always got his water effects on. You can take the bottom ones off, of course, so he's got normal feet, but he's always got his watery hands. And yes, I always say if I'm going to have one set of effects, I'd rather a character be displaying their abilities, but let's be honest, it would have been nice to have that display option. But still, 10 great figures, but they're my honourable mentions. So without further ado, let's get into it. My official top 10 comic-based Marvel Legends of 2019. Kicking us off at number 10, we have Mac Gargan, aka the Scorpion. Now, if you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you know that I love the Spider-Man animated show. It was one of my first Marvel loves growing up. And yeah, I love the Spider-Man Rogues Gallery. Probably one of the best Rogues Gallery in comics. Probably only rival with Batman, but still, I love the Spider-Man characters, love the villains, and he's a great figure. He even comes with the bendy wire. Hasbro missed the mark with last year's Dr. Octopus. We never got bendy wire, but we did get bendy wire in this Scorpion tail. So it's a fun figure to pose around. You can even wrap Spider-Man up in that wire, but it's an all-new sculpt. The only thing that would have made it better, and he might have moved further down on the list, is if he had an interchangeable head sculpt with the actual skin showing down the chin, which was more accurate to the cartoon show. But still, nevertheless, it's still a great figure, and without a doubt makes my top 10. At number 9, we have the Hulk, that come in the 2-pack with the first appearance Wolverine. And Yes, this is probably the best comic-based Hulk we have got in Marvel Legends form, and it is amazing. Without a doubt, I like the paintwork, I like the sculpt, I like all of it, apart from one thing. As you can see at the back there, he has the butterfly joints, so he can move his hands all the way back, which is great, but it's the Hulk. You want him to do the big Hulk clap, and he can't. He can only move his hands there, and if we had got those butterfly joints at the front, this guy could have been #1, but it just annoys me so much that they did that, but not this. It just doesn't make sense. But we did get some interchangeable hands, so we can be punching and whatnot. And yeah, without a doubt, it's probably the best Hulk, comic-based Hulk we have got for our Marvel Legends shelves, and fits in very nicely with the rest of our comic-based Marvel 80 years anniversary Avengers. So he had to be in my top 10, but that just annoys me so much. He dropped down on the list, but still, great figure in the top 10. Hulk. Coming in at number 8, we have Captain America from the Marvel 80 years anniversary line. And I'm saying it right now, this is the best 6-inch version of Captain America we have of his comic portrayal. This is a great figure. He comes with even the scales all sculpted in. The only reason he's number 8 on the list, as the two head sculpts he come with were very similar. I know they were sort of different portrayals of a certain artist in the comics, but it would have been great to get an unmasked Steve Rogers head with this guy. And I've also added on these straps from a previous Captain America. These weren't on the original release, but I think they work out really well on this guy. Great figure, great articulation. Again, the accessories were nice, but they could have been a little bit better, but still, he's worthy of being on the list at number 8. Captain America. Continuing the theme of Marvel 80 years figures, at number 7 we have Iron Man. And I'm saying it once again, this is the best classic Iron Man we have at 6-inch scale. It's an amazing figure, and it comes with the perfect accessories. That's why he beat out Captain America. Captain America didn't come with an unmasked Steve Rogers head. This guy come with the best classic looking Tony Stark head we have at this scale. He also comes with different effect pieces, so you can have him blasting it up on a flight stand and whatnot, and he just looks great. I know the more astute reviewers notice that his biceps or something were on the wrong way around, but to be honest, I really don't notice, especially when he's on my shelf. I don't notice those small details. I still think he looks like a great figure, great classic Iron Man, and yeah, a great single-packed figure. If you haven't got him, you need to go and get him, but he makes the list. Number 7. Coming in at number 6, I'm cheating again, but I don't care. It's my list. It is the X-Men Women. And they're at number 6 because I realise I'm cheating, so it would be unfair to whack them in the top 5. But all of them are worthy of their place. You could pick any one of these to be at number 6. We have Jubilee, Mystique, the new Jean Grey from the Love Triangle 3-pack. And then, of course, we waited a long time for it, and it was on my personal wish list for 2019. But we finally got it. We got the white outfit Storm for our classic X-Men shelves. All of these are very nostalgic for me. As I said, I love the X-Men animated show growing up, and all of these look like they've jumped straight out the TV screen and straight out the comics, and these are perfect additions for your X-Men collections. Your displays are not complete without them. They are great figures, and I couldn't separate them. They're all at number 6, mashed them together. At number 5, you're going to see a theme emerging now, but it is classic Colossus. He come in the 2-pack with Juggernaut, and this was the Colossus we wanted the first time round. We got the modern day Colossus when he's got the beard and whatnot, but this is the one we wanted, the chrome with the red and the yellow. And yeah, this figure does not disappoint. We got interchangeable hands as well, so we could have him with display options while he's fighting Juggernaut. But yeah, this is a great looking figure. Very imposing, very tall. Definitely stands out in the display, and just is very nostalgic. Definitely a classic looking Colossus. Probably the best Colossus figure we have, full stop, from anyone. It is a great figure and had to make the top 10 list and had to make the top 5, and he did at number 5. Coming in at number 4, I had to show the villain some love. It is, of course, Mr. Sinister, and one of my personal favourite X-Men villains, and it's so good to have an updated version in figure form. A very nice figure, single packed. The only disappointing thing about this figure is he come with no interchangeable head, so he's always got this evil Sinister grin on, but he is Mr. Sinister, so that makes sense. But it would have been nice to have the display options. He never come with any interchangeable hands either, but it's still a great representation of the character, and he looks very imposing on the display without a doubt. I even like the cape. I know it's just 2 pieces of plastic all cut up, but it's still nice, does the job, reps the character how it should be, and yeah, looks great. So at number 4 is Mr. Sinister. Now we're getting into the top 3, and this guy could have been number 1. It is, of course, Charles Xavier, Professor X, in his hover chair. Now, as I said, this guy could have been number 1, but I felt it would have been cheating, as he was technically part of the Riders wave, as we managed to get his hover chair with him. Otherwise, it is just a suited Marvel Legends body, which isn't the most exciting body. It's more about what it represents, and one of my favourite characters, one of the most important characters in X-Men lore, it is, of course, Charles Xavier. And this hover chair is super nostalgic. I've said it about 8 times already, but that X-Men animated TV show, one of my favourite shows of my childhood, and yeah, this is all about that. And it can be animated show, it can be comics, it can be whatever you want it to be. And they even went all out with the hover chair and gave it buttons, and he's even got a little blanket for him. Now, the one thing that was terrible about this figure was the effect piece they used for his, well, what was meant to be his telepathic display, but let's be honest, that wasn't what it was, so no one's using it as that. And I don't hate the display piece for the bottom either. It's not perfect, but you can display it without him completely fine. It works, but I just like giving him a bit of height on the shelf. But still, looks great. He could have been my number 1, but it was a Riders Wave release, so I thought I'd show some love to some single pack figures instead. But yeah, if I had to run out the house now and pick one figure from 2019 that I love, it would be this guy with the hover chair, Charles Xavier. But to be fair, I'll put him at number 3. This year's runner-up at number 2, we have Nightcrawler, and this guy was number 1 on my list for the longest time, and I literally panicked and changed my mind the last minute as I'm filming these videos. But let's be honest, it's a great figure. Not only do you get this, which is a perfect Nightcrawler as it is, you got 2 more interchangeable heads, which is super rare with Marvel Legends. Usually we get 1 if we're lucky, but this time we got 2 extras. So we got 3 heads in total, as well as his sword as well. So he can do his Excalibur days and whatnot. But yeah, love this Nightcrawler. It looks great with all the articulation it should be, apart from the tail. If the tail was articulated, he probably would have been number 1 without a shadow of the doubt, but he just missed out. You can still pose the tail though. I don't hate that it's not articulated. I think it works fine for the shelf when you've got him posed. You can put it in a nice place. But yeah, it's a great figure. Represents the character how he should be without a doubt. There's hardly anything wrong with it apart from the tail's not articulated. And again, you have to show some love to the fact that Hasbro gave us interchangeable parts. So that counts in my calculations when I'm doing this top 10 list. Yeah, a great figure without a doubt, a great character, and just missed out on the number 1 spot this year, but a worthy runner-up. At number 2, we have Nightcrawler. At number 1, you probably guessed it by now, it is, of course, Beast. Without a shadow of a doubt, my favourite X-Men character. And this was a very nice update from Hasbro, as we did get a nice Beast in the Toy Biz days, but it is a little bit outdated now. And this guy fits in perfectly with our modern day characters and displays, and the articulation on this guy is crazy. He has articulation everywhere he should do, and you can get him in some funky poses. You can even get him balancing on one hand. It's great. Definitely got the look of that very first X-Men number 1 comic, and that is probably the only disappointing thing about this figure, is that we never got an interchangeable head. Everyone wanted a blanked face, normal looking, intelligent Beast, and we never got it. As I said, Hank McCoy is my favourite X-Men character, and I wanted to have that display option on the shelf. It's nice to have him in Beast mode, don't get me wrong, but I did want that intelligent sort of look as well. But it still never hindered the fact he still made number 1 on the list. And again, I do think that Beast being my favourite character, full stop, has a part to play in him making the number 1 spot over Nightcrawler. But still, you have have to appreciate it as a single packed figure. It is amazing. They did a great job. The paint's great. Yes, it could have been a little bit better in regard to the shading, but again, I'm ignoring that. I'm not a paint snob like some people. I think it looks great face on your display. And yeah, really, really good. And what makes it even better for me personally is that I got a custom Anthony Customs head sculpt to make the classic looking beast. So let's show you that now. So there you go. This definitely makes him #1 for me. I know it's cheating a little bit, but this is what Hasbro should have done. They should have gave us Hank McCoy, Intelligent Beast with the glasses. This is an Anthony Customs head sculpt, and he did an amazing job. Very nostalgic for the animated show from a kid. And as I said, Beast from that show was my favorite X-Men character. And the fact that I now have him at this scale for my display, for my collection, is amazing, and he fits in perfectly with the rest of your X-Men on the shelf. So yeah, this is the only thing Hasbro should have done with this beast. This beast is great. This head sculpt from the X-Men #1 panel is great, but Hasbro should have gave us this as well. But again, regardless of this head sculpt, he still made #1. And yeah, such a great figure. This just makes him a little bit better for me. So there you have it. At #1, my #1 Marvel Legend comic-based figure for 2019 is Beast. How? So there you have it, my top 10 comic-based Marvel Legends of 2019. Well, technically there's 13 on the table, but I'm sure you'll forgive me as yet again it has been another great year for collecting. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. We are in the golden age of Marvel Legends, and long may it continue into 2020. And if you want to check out my other lists, I have a top 10 MCU-based Marvel Legends of 2019 on the channel right now. But I also plan on doing a top 5 builder figures and then a top 10 most wanted list for 2020. So lots more content to come on the channel. So you know what that means. Check out the videos tab, and please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Much appreciated. And if you want to support the channel that little bit extra, you can head over to Patreon and support the channel if you can, and help it grow into the new year. But as always, people, my name has been Dan W. Let me know your top 10s, your top 5s, your top 3s in the comments below, and let's talk about it, because nevertheless, this is my personal list and yours will be different, but you'll have to admit it's been another great year. And as always, people, my name has been Dan W, and I shall see you on the next one.